Bucs fan! Let's go! How we doing tonight? Hey, Bucs win. Bucs win. I don't give a fuck how we win. Drinks are up. Sweet taste of victory. Yes, I know you all. There's some of you going, oh, we could be playing for draft picks. Fuck the draft picks. I don't give a shit about that shit. I want to win. Winner's mentality, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Winner's mentality. Big shout out to one of the media people that I know who was out running the flag. So, Christy, well done to you. I didn't get to see you on the broadcast, unfortunately. I mean, I did check my phone a couple of times, but, it is what it is. So, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers go 21-18. Let's face it, it was a freaking nail biter, which it shouldn't have been. Shouldn't have been nowhere near close. But it's been nice to pull out the shades and have the shtick and have the vibes and have the lifestyle and have the wheeling and dealing, jet setting, Buccaneer taking lifestyle that we've been kind of accustomed to living, and we needed it. We needed it for this game. But your Tampa Bay Buccaneers prevailed, and they got the job done. Surprise, surprise. I honestly thought this was going to be a difficult job. Run defense did really well, so credit to the linebackers that we do have. And yeah, I'm sure if we had a gentleman coming into the show or what have you, it could be done a different way. But hey, we have Rick Hughes from Bucs Live. I'm gonna add him to the stage because this is my guy. How about them Buccaneers just scraping a win for no reason?
You know what? Win's a win. I'll take it. I don't care. I've been a fan so long. I appreciate any win.
Absolutely. I completely agree. You've got to take the wins when you get them. All those naysayers are saying that we should be tanking for draft picks and stuff. That's not how a competitive team works. Trust me, teams that tank don't usually get back on top.
Listen, you don't – if you're that excited about draft picks, I mean, why are you watching the season?
Absolutely. I completely agree. Completely agree, Rick. Our boy Mike Evans makes a bit more NFL history. Is currently tied number 2 in the NFL for the longest 1K season streak, and if he equals it next year, he will be equal number 1. I guess you could call him a 1B. Would be the argument. But now, it was nice to see him get it against the Panthers, no less, who he got it against last year.
And he got it in the final game of the season, I believe, every year with Brady.
Yeah.
And now there's how many games left, and he got it with Baker?
Yeah. I mean, sky's the limit right now. And, when people used to say to, as a Bucs fan, you've probably been familiar with this, well, Mike Evans is only good because he's got Mike Evans. And we're like, have you not watched football?
Right.
I mean, I know we were a bad franchise, but Tom Brady hasn't been here that long. You can't have 10 1K seasons, and Tom Brady's only there for 3 of them.
They said it today. They said it today on the broadcast. They said, boy, Mike Evans sure learned a lot with Tom Brady being there. What?
There we go. So he got himself a sponsor there, EOS webcam utility. I don't know if that's just his thing going wrong. He'll come back and what have you. Pay Mike. K-pop lover says pay him. I'm assuming they're saying Mike Evans, and absolutely let's get Mike back. There he is.
Sorry.
That's all right. I thought you were just flashing a sponsor up just because it's like
that. I listen, here's the thing. And I guess this is sort of my point is everybody's ripping everything. Everybody's just cutting down everything. There's so much negativity, so much negativity. It's unbelievable the amount of negativity. Look, we won a game today. Mike Evans got his 1,000 yards, and he got it early this season, and he could have possibly his best season as a Buccaneer this year. It's possible.
I mean, he's 10 to, well, let's have a little snoop at Mike Evans and where he's at in his legacy. But just to go back to what you were saying, they said in the broadcast, maybe I missed the piece, but I thought they were talking about Tom Brady kind of making him aware of his legacy rather than making him aware.
Okay. That might be what it was. That may be what
that's how I heard it. Maybe, but they could have said, I'm not zeroed in on everything they say in the broadcast. Right. There was a moment in the broadcast where he said he said to us that he learned a lot from Brady about his legacy.
Okay, about his legacy, that I believe, because I was like, wait a minute, learned, you know, I remember them talking. They did talk about how he got much better. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you.
All right, I'm just gonna.
Now I can see you.
All right, I'm having camera issues. Sorry.
If you go to camera issues, don't worry. Just say, "Can you hear me?" And we'll just crack on. Now you just look like me. That's too mean.
I think I'm gonna have to change that. Let's see here. How do I?
My wife would be excited. I don't think the rest of the world would be.
Here we go.
Actually, no, she wouldn't be. There you go.
I will do this.
There you go. You got to rep the squad.
There we go.
Dave.
So yeah.
Legacy.
So the thing I guess that blows my mind when I look at it is, look, man. I mean, I'll take any kind of win, any kind of game, any kind of way. If the Buccaneers win next week, they're leading the division. Now, right now they're 5-7. If they win next week, they're 6-7. They're on their way back to possibly even a winning season.
Mm-hmm. So, and who have they got on the way? There's only one winning team in their way, realistically.
Right. But I mean, Jacksonville's there. Green Bay doesn't look easy, but I mean,
because
none of these games are
Green
easy.
Bay, right? We wouldn't be having this conversation if Green Bay was coming to us. We'd turn around and go, okay, we've got a very good chance to win. But the fact it's in Green Bay makes it a little bit more like it's not going to be that easy. And they're a very up and down team right now. I would say the Green Bay Packers are one of those teams that occasionally punches above their weight and occasionally loses games they shouldn't lose.
Agreed.
A little bit like us, I guess, in a lot of respects.
Well, I mean, we're a little bit better than the Panthers.
That was kind of on show today. I mean, I will give Coach Bowles this. Considering he was down at one point to, I mean, I don't know the pecking order of his inside linebackers because I don't know. But at one point, I believe he's at his 5th and 7th string. And to nullify the run the way they did, and I know there's other guys involved in nullifying the running. I know it's not just two back. It's just
that's a big part.
It's a front, but you still they're your fit and flow guys. They're the guys who follow the play, especially on the outside runs.
Right,
those are the guys that do that kind of job, who fit and flow, and I think they did a really good job of it. Considering, let's face it, they were no-name guys. I mean, if you were to say these guys' names in a broadcast to anyone who's in the NFL, they're like, who the these guys?
Ryan Neal, we've been ripping on Ryan Neal for how much this year, and he played lights out today. And JJ Russell played great today. And I mean, look, you could say great. They played great against the Panthers. Well, that's the only team we could play great against today. So I'm happy.
The way I look at it is that like, I'm gonna say a measuring stick. What's the best way of putting it? Is that like a shape of things to come? Is that like this got us on track? Now now the train's rolling. Now we're moving. Now there's a bit more belief. There's a bit more like, whew, okay, we got through that one. Let's get ourselves going. Let's get ourselves right. We needed this game to get back on track. Do you know what I mean? Is this the kind of game that gets us back on track? And it could be. You really don't know.
As you know, behind the scenes, we have a little chat that we all have.
Yes.
And I went ahead and said some stuff that is a big step for me.
Would you like to divulge on the show?
Sure. I'd be happy to talk about it. Here's the thing, guys. I talked about the fact partway through the game, I said, you know what? And everybody who knows me at all knows I've been backing Baker the entire way. 100%.
I know where you're going with this. You're going down the Trask aisle, right?
Yes, I am. And at partway through it, I said, you know what? Put Trask in. And I'm a Baker. I've been a Baker guy from Jump Street. And I said, go ahead and put Trask in. If for no other reason than at least the other teams not, you know how we struggle against rookie quarterbacks or whatever when there's no film
there's
on
no
them.
film on them. You
Right.
kind of don't know what that. It's a perfect example of something you said, and I will give you the credit for this because were shit. You are hot on this, and I will give you every credit in the world. As you said at the beginning of the season, people don't know how we call games offensively because they've never had a Dave Canales offense.
Right.
And lo and behold, as soon as we got past week 4, what did teams start to do? They started to suss out our offense.
Right.
And I completely believe that because 1 minute and I'm not saying we were light out offense, but we were way more productive. The only thing that's changed over time is I think the run game has got a bit better. Like week by week by week by week. I mean, it's been a very slow progress, but it seems to be getting there. There seems to be a belief in the system. I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. I mean, yes, it's against the Panthers, and last week it was against the Colts, and I get it, but it's little things like that sometimes it's a mental barrier that you've got to get across. And I think the Buccaneers are starting to do that from a run point of view.
Well, I don't think I think 2 games in a row we've had a decent run game. 2 games in a row, Rachaad White did well. 2 games in a row, the offense, the offense showed signs of life. The problem is it just hits these periods, I don't know, this just like it goes all of a sudden into turtle mode where the offense just
You sound like AJ. Turtle mode is an AJ quote.
Wait, is it? Well, that's
Coach Bogle always goes into turtle mode.
Well, it's partly true, I think, because they just all of a sudden play so safe, so ridiculously over the top safe. And
yeah,
when you have a chance, right? You take the lead. It's your chance to put your boot on the throat of the other team, and they
go for the jugular, finish it up,
and instead they pull back, and
that's and then they end up having to put Baker in moments that I've been saying this in the last week. It kind of clicked in my head. I've been watched a couple of the games back, and I'm like, Baker's just not clutch when the game's on the line. And he has to do the job. He struggles.
Right.
I don't think he's a bad. I really don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think he will have a career as a backup and not a situational starter. Sorry, a starter for a team that someone goes down by injury or a team that doesn't know where they are with quarterbacks. He will get that opportunity, and he can win you games because he's proven he can.
I love the guy. I mean, I love the guy. I want to run through the wall. I want to run through a wall for the guy. I love the guy. Having said that, there's just, for instance, that interception today. What in the world? What
and the amount of conversions that we had where he threw balls at people's feet.
Yeah. I mean, there were
thinking,
plays where
Mike Evans isn't the greatest catcher in the world. I get that. But at the same time, you're not helping him by throwing at his ankles.
Something's up with Chris Godwin. Let's talk about that.
You think something's up with him, or do you think it's I mean, I don't know how many times he was targeted versus how many catches or what have you, but
why not? What's happening? What's happening with Chris Godwin?
I don't know. He seems like the odd man out.
How does Chris Godwin end up as an odd man out? I mean, we've got one guy catching passes.
Yep.
I mean, one. You can't have an odd man out when there's only one catching. I mean, there should be at least a number 2.
I'd say the number 2 right now is Trey Palmer, but even that, like, let's unpack this, right? Okay, let's go with Mike Evans. Mike Evans gets 7 receptions, which seems pedestrian, realistically, considering the yardage he got. But Mike Evans has made a career of having not a lot and done a lot with it. When you put his career against Adams, right. And those two are probably, from a stats point of view, are neck and neck with each other because the yardage is close and the touchdowns are close. They were drafted at the same time, so there's always been that kind of closeness, that closeness, Way more than there would have been with an Odell Beckham Jr., who's literally wasted these days, but people keep still harping on about a catch. But hey, we won't talk about that. Rachaad White is the second receiver who had the most catches today. Let that sink in. Our running back had the second most catches of the day.
This is my point about
22 yards. So this is the drop off, Rick.
Yeah.
162 yards. Mike Evans averages 23.1 with a touchdown, and we all know how important that touchdown was. Then Rachaad White comes in with his 3 receptions, 22 yards. Think of the drop-off that's going to come next, because we know that there's a drop-off, because there's always going to be a drop-off as you go down the list, right? 2 receptions, Trey Palmer, 12 yards. Devin Tompkins, 1 reception, 4 yards. Chase Edmonds, 1 reception, 2 yards. Yeah. Chris Godwin, zip. He is a better rusher today than he ever was as a wide receiver.
No, I understand. And that's my question that I don't understand. And by the way, James Matz, what's up, fellas? We won against the worst team in the NFL. Okay, who did you want us to beat today?
Oh, no. James Matz has been coming on. We've had some good discussion with this gentleman.
My question is, but
he's not a fan of the bowl scheme, the anything scheme. But
that's
he's a good dude. I like a good debate with this gentleman.
Yeah, and I'm that's kind of what I'm doing here when he said, "What's up, fellas?"
I've just given you a bit of background about the gentleman, because he's not a randomer. He's been on the Postgame show many times. I have not seen him on the Aftermath yet. I really want James Matz to come on camera and chat with us, because I would really enjoy having a conversation with this gentleman.
Well, I guess what I don't understand about your point, we won against the worst team in the NFL. Okay, great. Who did you want us to beat today? We beat the worst team in the NFL. What were we supposed to do?
But we're trying to beat them. Should we have beaten them more convincingly? Yeah.
Who cares?
I think the problem here is, I think you nailed it in what you just said, is this team isn't a team that's going to go, oh, we're up by what? We were up quite comfortably at one point in that game, and then all of a sudden we just kind of took the foot off the gas and let them back into it. Right. So, and I don't know if that's the scheme or what have you. The defense just does enough, and it will tick by and what have you. We're not a nasty team. We're not. We're going to let you know that you played the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are stepping on your soul right now. We're not that. We don't seem to have that vibe about us right now, and that can change. But right this year, I don't see it, but it can always change.
Well, and yeah, when he says barely. That we barely won. It doesn't matter. I mean, San Francisco crushed the Eagles. They get 1 W today. So do we. I mean, it doesn't matter.
We don't have that killer instinct, and then I think that's what we're all a little bit frustrated by. We would like to see this team just go no and just cut it dead, and that's it.
Right, but when you're down to your 7th string linebackers, and you're playing by the seat of your pants with 33% smaller payroll than every other team. I mean, you're having to do this. It's not going to be the easiest way. And yeah, we all want it to be prettier. We all want to win by more. We all want it to be prettier, but we got to win, man. We got to win.
I'm going to go and join free player politics, having commentators repeatedly pause and say, look how wow those wide receivers or covers had me shocked. Well, you know what? You look at it. Let's look at the stats of this Bryce Young team. He got 178 yards. That's very pedestrian. No touchdowns, 1 INT. So realistically, the Buccaneers kind of did their job. Yeah, could they have done better? For sure. But what do you want them to do? I mean, I don't know Bryce Young's stats on the season, because I don't follow him. It's not really my vibe, because I can't keep up with everything, let's look. Okay, we'll do this.
I live here in Charlotte.
You do, and it's got to be pretty sweet for you to walk into work tomorrow. So he goes against the Falcons, gets 146 in his debut. He goes 153 versus the Saints. He goes 204 versus the Vikings. And we're kind of like the average of where he kind of gets to, realistically, when I look at this, the big picture is that the Texans, he got 235, and Lions, he got 247. He's never gone more than that. So holding him under 200 and no touchdowns is kind of where you want him. Let's go to the real picture here. And this is the one that no one's talking about. This is the third least rating he's got. So his quarterback rating is a 52.9. Worst that he got than that is a 48.3 and a 48.8. So realistically, yes. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked because their wide receivers aren't that good. And I do believe that we can play them pretty well.
Yeah. And James, you said to put the Bucs and the Eagles in the same sentence is really reaching. I'm not trying to compare which team is
No, you're just saying they've got to win today.
And I'm telling you, yeah, right now, today, it's better to be a Buccaneers fan than an Eagles fan.
You keep talking about payroll and about pride, but how about wanting to be the best? Look, I think the real question here is none of us are in that room, right? No one in here is in the room of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's really difficult to turn around and go, well, this team lacks drive. This team lacks this. I mean, yeah, we can look at the product on the field and say it's not right. We don't like what we're seeing, but we don't know what's going behind closed doors. There's obviously, I mean, we can turn around and say, oh, this and that, and connect that dot with that dot, but that doesn't actually mean we're right because we're not in the conversation in those rooms when we have those chats. I do believe that Chris Godwin is criminally underused, in my opinion. It's almost embarrassing that you have, and I'll go out on a limb and say this. I've seen Bucs fans for a long time say the best wide receiver from a skill set point of view is Chris Godwin because he has better hands than Mike Evans and he runs a much more fluid and much more cohesive route tree. Whereas Mike Evans, and I've said this many times on any show that I've ever been on, Mike Evans is the best in the world at what he does. He is the Wolverine of big yardage, put that ball up, I'm plucking it, I'm coming down with it. I probably won't get you much yak, but I'm coming down with that ball 99.9% of the time, and that's what he does. And there is no one in the NFL that does what, and that's why it's hard to compare Mike Evans to anybody because there's no one who does what he does. It's hard to put a price on him because you can't turn around and say, well, he's a bit like this guy. Name me one wide receiver that Mike Evans reminds you of that's current. None. He is in a league of his own right now, and he has been for the last 5 years, in my opinion. And that's why it's so hard for people to categorize him to say he's worth this much money, he's worth that much money, he's worth this and he's worth that, and he's worth a first-round draft pick. No one truly knows because he's in a realm of his own.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true. And everything, like all the stuff that James is saying, it's not that I disagree with it. Sure, it'd be better if we had a better scheme. Sure, it'd be better if we had better players, more depth. Sure, it would be better.
Did win at one point. So, like, here's the real question. The scheme used to work. That's a fair assessment, yes?
Sure, on defense,
from a defensive standpoint, we can't use the offense because the offense has technically changed.
Correct.
So the defense is the only consistent in this team and measuring stick that you can. You've got to measure shit. I'm a big believer. If you can measure something, you can find out the problems. You can find out the fixes. I'm a big believer in corrective action because that's my day job, and that's not the coaching. That's the actual day job of quality assurance, which is what I do for a living. So I'm a believer in the 5 whys, which is why did this happen? Okay. And then you have your answer to that. And then why? You should come to your root cause of why things are going wrong. And the thing about this Buccaneers team is the constant is the defense. So we used to be able to get the job done. Is it the scheme or is it the players? Is it the execution of plays? Because there are players on this team executing like nobody. You can't turn around and tell me and just say that this. Look at our strong safety in
Winfield,
right? he was nurtured. No one knew he was going to be as great as he is right now. He is playing the best year of his life so far as a Buck.
Right.
And I think that's pretty safe to say. That guy just seems to appear. He reminds me of like the safety version of Levante David. Just, when we were bad and Levante David would just be there to save the day with like a touchdown and an interception or something just to rally the team. You're like, how did he do that? And that's where I'm the vibe I'm getting from Antoine Winfield Jr. The thing is, that talent's been nurtured by a Coach Bowles defense. And there are players not doing their roles. There are players struggling and not doing what they're supposed to do. People are acting shocked that someone like Colton Davis is struggling occasionally. Well, go and watch corners. There are days corners are on top of everybody and absolutely knock players out and make Hall of Famers look terrible. There are also days where they have pedestrian wide receivers walk all over them. It just happens. Cornerback, in my opinion, is always been the toughest mental position other than quarterback. The reason being is, if the ball sails over your head and they catch it, imagine the defeatist moment you feel. Because it's considered almost like a one-on-one, right? You go on one-on-one. It's LeBron James versus this person.
Right.
They lost, right? You lost your matchup. When the run breaks out, no one's going. Well, the linebacker didn't make his play because there are multiple people involved in the run. No one looks at it like that from a wide receiver cornerback duo battle. It is you beat your number. That's it. Done. You are better than him. That's how it's looked at. And then if a play, and I've been in that show. I hate playing corner. I much prefer playing safety. I just enjoy it more. But corner, if the play breaks out and it's a breakout run, and you don't make the tackle, believe you me, everyone's looking at you. No one's looking at the guy who failed his contain. No one's looking at the force who failed his job. No one's looking at the alley who failed his job. They're looking at the secondary force guy who failed to do his job and tackle an open field tackle, which is way harder than when a guy's literally squared up on you. When you got to tackle a guy in space, it's much difficult than catching a guy who's millimeters in front of you.
Well, I think it's fair to say that today, and again, I get it. It's the precursor. We played the Panthers.
Sure.
I get it. But our defense played good today. The fact that we were, when you say things like, okay, well, we blitzed. That's the only time we're getting pressure on the quarterback.
That's kind of when you're supposed to.
Well, yeah. And remember that Super Bowl?
That's the whole point of having a free fall. Someone's always blitzing. And it's been Coach Bowles' MO. Like, it's kind of like what he's been. It's halt, control, pressure. I actually didn't think the game that he coached was that bad. I was so thankful that he threw a challenge, though.
I know.
Like, God. And they didn't show that right till the end, and they never show him through the flag or anything like that. There's no theatrics to him throwing the flag like they did when Carolina threw the ball.
Right.
Which I personally felt he bobbled the ball and what have you, but that's here nor there. But when he threw it, I was like, please throw it. Why is he not throwing it yet? Why is he not throwing it yet? Why is he not for this is carbon. This is fact. What's he doing? And then all of a sudden, last second is like challenge. So I'm like,
did you hear? I don't know if you heard what they did. What I thought was interesting is the first thing they said he called timeout. And then they said, well, hold on. Now the referees are talking and they're going to decide whether or not he needs to. And then they made the call, and then he threw the flag. He actually handled that well. And
yeah,
I'm not a fan of the way he's handled things.
Yep,
I am not, but he did today.
It's like the Mike Evans catch last week. I know they go on to score a touchdown, but it was like he really did catch that ball. That sometimes when you take those challenges, it shows faith in your football team.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to lose one to go, I believe in you. I believe you got that ball. I 100% believe you got that ball. The moment you say, I don't think you got that ball, I'm not going to challenge it. It sends a mental message saying, I don't think you did it.
Well, I want to say something here to James. James, your last line that you said, I'd love to see Evans get a shot at another Super Bowl before the end of his Hall of Fame career. I would too. But let's be realistic and let's go ahead and say this directly, even though it kind of sucks. But this is just a fact. Look, this is not a Super Bowl franchise this year. This is not going to be a Super Bowl franchise next year.
No, I don't think so.
If we change head coaches, this is not going to be a Super Bowl franchise for several years. And that's the reality of it if you want to do the rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, being kind, and I'm going to be kind here because positivity is my vibe. If they were to change head coaches, you're probably seeing a change within 2 to 3 years. Yeah, and that's not including this year. That's including so we're looking 2027 as a real change year.
I mean, if they decide to change next year, if they in this offseason, if they decide to change, you are sacrificing the next 3 years of this franchise because you've got to rebuild. You're going to have to bring in a new system on offense. You're going to have to bring in
people think it's easy. I think that's the problem. I think the end of the day is people think the answer is, oh, we'll just do this. It's like, go and look at teams that have rebuild. Go and look at the Detroit Lions. Do the Buccaneers fans, do you have the patience for competitive? They were competitive. Yeah. The Buccaneers haven't been not competitive. Remind me when the last time, how often we got blown out this year.
Let me agree with you on this 100%. And sorry to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
This to me, people don't think about this. If you look at the score differential, it's pretty much always like 7 points a game. And
Houston Texans is one of the teams that technically blew us out. Buffalo Bills didn't. So I'm just going through it now. Philadelphia Eagles, it's in that realm, but it's not terrible. Everyone else isn't. It's in the conversation of being
mostly close within 7 points kind of games.
Yeah, and the Indianapolis Colts done us by 10. So other than that,
there was a garbage score on the last play of the game.
For sure,
beat us by 10. Right, they did. I get it. But
my buddy Trevor Smith's trying to come for me again. Bless him.
But I want to say this: if the Bucs had $75 million in payroll right now, that they could have, if you could add $75 million, you start adding all these free agents in. You start bringing back some of these guys that we lost for depth. These scores look a lot different. When people say there's $75 million in dead cap space, that's just a number with no context. When you put it into actual real context and understand what this roster is dealing with, it's a big deal. It really is a big deal. And
it's a lot of money to lose, and it's a lot of money not to be able to work with. I mean, it means you look at the safety position, we're all getting angry that Ryan Neal can't make plays. I mean, he did today, but we've been generally Buccaneers fans have been frustrated with the play level from him. What if they could go and get a higher caliber safety or a higher caliber defensive lineman or high caliber offensive lineman that would have been able to anchor this team? I mean, obviously they wouldn't have ever gone down the center route because they were expecting or hoping that Ryan Jensen was going to come back. So
But the thing is, you have to keep your focus and understand right now what's happening. This team, they're cleaning up the books. They're cleaning up the salary cap.
And they got it. They've got no choice. They can't kicking the can down the road, especially when, our last season, we won a division with a losing record. That is correct, right? That is 100% what happened. You can't keep kicking salary down the road, because you're just making life harder for yourselves. It's almost like you're punching yourself in the face to try and win a beauty pageant. Eventually, the swelling goes up. and you look ugly. It's just what happens, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's awesome.
It's not going to work. It's like getting a facial from a leper. It doesn't really work.
Look. The bottom line, if you want to know what it's like to keep kicking the can down the road, how would you like to be a Saints fan today? I mean, they're
and that's kind of the world we're in right now, because we decided to do a similar kind of deal that they like to do. Is kick the can down the road. Right. And they've done it again because they turn around and go, you know what? We think this quarterback's going to be the guy who gets us over the edge. And it hasn't, because they've just poured $150 million into a guy that isn't performing. It hasn't done the job. And I said to AJ agreed with me, that I think he's a fraud. And I don't mean that in like he's a bad quarterback. He's always been an okay, decent quarterback. But is he going to take you over the edge? Is he going to push your team to the level that it needs to be? No, I never thought that. And the reason being, I said this before, and people laughed at me when I turned around and said he had the best, arguably the best wide receiver in football in Adams, who was his bunkmate in college.
Right.
He had the guy who won the rushing crown. I can't remember the gentleman's name. Oh gosh, who's the running back for the Raiders?
Hold on.
He's actually pretty good. His name just escapes me. Hold
on.
Abrams?
Keep going.
And they had the sober.
My mind's going blank.
Don't worry about it. And they had the superstar sober passing catcher of a tight end as well. And I can't remember his name as well. Sorry,
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs, yeah, that's the running back for sure. Yeah, so you have like one. Yeah, I've been drinking. Don't worry, Trev. I drink, and my brain has escaped me, and I've just got verbal. Hey, I don't know anymore. I'm too busy being angry that Florida State didn't make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, Trevor, just enjoy it. Just have fun. Enjoy it. You know, be a part of the fun.
It's a good time, Trev. Just enjoy it. But yeah. You know when you just get that moment and the name escapes you, oh my gosh, and I've done this in the middle of a live broadcast. Hey, here we go. I just
it happens to me all the time where names, but that's because I'm old. But
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not as old, but I probably burnt a few brain cells.
Oh, I found my own way to do that.
But they had a very good offensive system. And that is a fact. They had that.
Right.
And he was benched. And they were like, oh, yeah, well, and these are the apologists coming. I'm like, but hang on. You got opportunities to win games with a franchise-level quarterback, and you're going to go, oh, well, we're just going to show him a thing or two by putting him on the bench. No. Right. He's just not as good as people think he is. He's not clutch. I like Derek Carr. I think he's a nice guy. He puts the guy liner on and everything. He dolls up, bless him. But I just don't think he's that.
Well, I think you're right. I mean,
and the guy liner too, yeah.
But they don't have. No, but they listen. The Saints right now, they don't have all the parts. They've got no depth. They're the same problems that we have, but a little more extreme.
Darren Waller, Jesus Christ, my Lord! I could not think of that wide receiver. All I knew.
No, James, that was so going along with you. Oh no!
Yeah, no. I believe James Matz is a Patriots fan that joined us.
Okay,
so that might explain.
James, you realize they got shut out at home today, 6-0. The Patriots did. Okay, your general manager and head coach.
I think that's the problem. I'm not going against Coach Belichick here, but let me bring you on the journey. Rick. Could Coach Belichick deal being not the general manager and just the coach? There you go. So that means you've got to fire your guy. And let's face it, we've got some. But he's the general manager, dude. He's the general manager.
Put the roster together, James.
He created the roster. The roster sucks. created by the guy that you're telling us is going to fix our woes. It's not.
Right.
It's
Stop
not
it.
going to happen.
And saying, well, if the Bucs had the Lions head coach, they'd have a couple more wins. So would everybody almost. Yes, okay. The Lions stumbled on a nugget of gold. They got lucky. How many head coaches have the Lions gone through that didn't work out? And they happened to stumble on one that is a nugget in the middle of all of it. And that's great that they did. But, wow, man, we've been through a lot of head coaches here. Every couple of years, we keep changing a lot.
It doesn't make that much of a. It doesn't change too much, and everyone's like, "Oh, we change it," and then you're going to get impatient with the next guy, and you're going to change it again, and you're going to change it again, and you're going to change it again.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the whole quarterback thing. Like when you have a quarterback that's having good moments, and then they have bad moments, and they have good moments, and it's like when people remember when Cincinnati paid Andy Dalton a good chunk of money to stay.
Right.
And I, at the time, I'll be honest, and yeah, someone can shout here saying I don't know football. I don't really care. I coach football, so I know a little bit.
Listen, it's easy to stay in the peanut gallery and make all kinds of statements when you're on camera and you're making comments. Mm-hmm. Everybody sees when you screw them up.
Absolutely. And I was on record to say that Andy Dalton, who was better at the time? Andy Dalton had just had they re-signed him. They re-signed him after he had a 11-game win streak.
Right.
You coach soccer, not football, right? No. I coach defensive football. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, ignore Trevor. He's just.
It's all right. I'm a defense. If you want to know, Trevor, I'm a defensive backs coach. I was a defensive coordinator. If you want to talk defensive football, I can bring you on screen. We can talk it. And I can talk intricately about it if you really want to get to the nitty gritty. But we're just talking about our team. Me and Slick go way back. Now I'm scared. Do you know me? I don't know. Nice. You're making me sweat.
Listen. There are. I will tell you this. I've been a Bucs fan since 1976. I don't consider myself to be, an expert or anything when it comes to what should the defense be doing or anything like that. There is no doubt I'm listening to you, Slick. I mean, there's no doubt you've got far more knowledge than I do. And
not necessarily because just because I've coached the game, it doesn't mean I know more than anybody else. It just means that I've been in a position to learn how certain things work. That doesn't mean I don't know the ins and outs of football.
That's the thing.
You talk to me about special teams, I will look blank as I will write, I am a fish. give me the answers to special teams. All right, I am a fish, I'm a fish, I'm a fish, I'm a fish. And put that down as my exam paper, and I'm done. Right. Because I tend to stay away from it. I mean, you kind of have to know offense if you're a defensive coordinator because you need to know what's going to happen to you, right?
But but that's and maybe that is part.
And we're always learning. That's the thing. No one knows football in and out. Nobody. Even these NFL coaches, none of them know football. Lots of people
like to pretend they know, and fans.
They're the ones that fail.
This is the thing that I struggle with the most. Is fans are very good at Fans are very good at posturing online and trying to point out everything they think is wrong because they feel like it makes them look like an expert on social media. And the truth of the matter
that famous phrase, I know more football than you, yeah?
Right.
That's kind of one of the cliches that you say something that goes against the grain. And I've always said this. Everyone has an opinion of what they think works and what doesn't work. There's going to be people out there who think Baker Mayfield is the man. And they're entitled to have that opinion because there's things that they've seen, things that they like about the guy, like his grit, his personality.
Yeah.
And they are not wrong in what they believe because it's their perception of reality. Right?
I like Baker.
Exactly.
I like Baker. I mean, I absolutely
frustrating me today, and then that touchdown to Mike Evans came on. Maybe I should shut the fuck up.
That's how it works. No, that's how it works. Is I think I had just said it's time to maybe try Trask. First time all season, I finally gave in.
We gave in.
Tried Trask, and then the next pass play was the 70-yarder to Evans. And it was like, never mind. But I mean, that. Listen, I promise you I'm wrong, and I'm usually loud about it. Okay?
There's
But
nothing wrong with being wrong, though. It's a
exactly.
rite of passage. It's kind of like, I'm never ever going to be right on everything. I'm never going to be right. Even when I call plays, even when I call this, even when I'm diagnosing stuff. You can, I once, and I'm going to be honest with you, bearing the cards on the table. I once was very lucky to get the offensive playbook of a team that we faced.
Uh-huh.
And I had every call under the sun audible that we could do every time, because they had an audible for every play, because they were they were a reaction based offense. So they had they like the RPO kind of style.
Right.
So they had trigger words. So we taught our players these trigger words, and then I realized something. I've just taught my team how to beat one team instead of just refining their skill set.
Well, that's okay.
Because guess what? It didn't make no
worked pretty
difference.
good against the Raiders when the Bucs were in the Super Bowl against the Raiders, and John Gruden knew everything that was going on. I mean,
but I think
gotta
at
win the
the elite
game in
level,
front
I
of
think
you.
at the elite level it helps, of course, and of course
Right.
when you've got two juggernauts going against each other, of course it's the fine margins
Right.
that make the difference. So in a game,
Absolutely. Say that again. Say that
the fine
again.
margins that make the difference.
And let people understand that. The difference between, for instance, the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is paper thin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It is
There'll
paper
be
thin.
certain situations, certain moments, momentum, and all those kind of things that will go against a team or go in their favor, and it's how a coach can capitalize
Correct.
on that period. So once you know your team's hot, that's when you got what's the famous phrase? Strike when the iron's hot, right?
Right.
Once you know you're hot, go until they don't have an answer for it.
Yeah. If you don't believe
Now,
me,
I like this by James Matz. You're talking paper thin. That's coaching. It could be one of those things.
I don't disagree with you on that, by the way. And let me say this. Here's my criticism of Todd Bowles. I don't think Todd Bowles' personality does him any favors.
No, he's not a movie personality. You see him as something.
I'm tired of hearing the press conferences. I'm tired of hearing we had a bust. I'm tired of hearing we got to practice harder and play better. I'm tired of hearing that. Okay, that part of his personality does not help him any. Okay, and I get that doesn't.
Well, here's the question. I'm going to spin it round then, Rick.
Yeah.
I like where you're going with this, because it's a fair question. But here's the thing: when you're on a winning team, you don't have to answer those questions. Only losing teams can answer them. Guess what their answers usually are? How many times have you sat on a losing team's press conference and gone, "Fuck me, I believe that he's going to sort our team out"? Yeah. You don't, because they're going to say the same shit. It's almost rehearsed to a degree. Right. We got to practice harder. We got to get ourselves in the best positions, because what he's saying isn't wrong. It's just it's boring. It's not interesting. It's ideally what you want to hear. And this is, let's be honest, between me, you, and anyone who's watching, the 7 people that are watching, what you really want to hear is someone go, "I will sort it out next week. It will not happen." But you know what's going to happen. If it happens again next week, what's your answer?
I want you all to think about this when we talk about razor thin difference between teams. Last year, this team started the season by losing to the Bears 27-23. 27-23. Mm-hmm. Then they lost to the Packers 42-21. Then they barely beat the Cardinals 26-23. Then they lost to the Saints. Who started the season that bad? Ended up a couple weeks later getting blown out by the Colts 41-21. Losing to the Vikings 34-20. Who was that team? That team was the Detroit Lions you guys were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? The light switch flipped. And things got better. And this is what my fear is about getting back into this wash and spin cycle of changing coaches, where you're going to bring somebody in, they're going to have a rookie quarterback. They're going to, we may lose even more players. We got 50 million in dead cap space next year. The cap will go up. It'll be a better situation next year.
Genuinely,
But,
yes.
okay. So you're in a situation
You still got a couple of franchise players to pay though. It's not
who's
like you're
gonna
paying
want
nobody.
to take over? Who's gonna want to take over this franchise? My point, James, you just asked the question. Am I suggesting keeping Bowles? I am saying this. If you want to change coaches, first of all, who are you changing to? And are you willing to pay the price that it's going to take? Or are you going to give up in 2 years? Because again, 50 million in dead cap space next year.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, and I will go through a couple of lists. So Trevor Smith is gone. You must hate Dungy. Same shit. Huge fan of Dungy. Actually read a lot of his books about his coaching philosophy. He's a big fan. He's actually one of my idols of coaching. Him and Chuck Noll, like my two of my favorite defensive coaches. Actually, surprisingly, Coach Bowles is one of more of my modern favorites. Just because of the pressure packages, it's kind of been built into my belief. So I'd love to kind of sit in a room and chat with him about defensive football. And then going on to James Matz, this team has weapons on both sides of the ball. Are you suggesting we keep in Coach Bowles?
Oh, that's a great. Here we go. This will be fun. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. I'm not against it, and I'm not for it either. The true question is, and this is really it. I want to see the totality of a season. So you've got 2 seasons under the belt of Coach Bowles. Now, here's the real clincher for Coach Bowles. You are going against teams that are lackluster. That's a fact. You need to walk away with wins here.
Agreed.
If you come to the end of this season and you don't convert at least 75% of those into wins, I'm seriously going to have a situation where I'm going to sit down with the GM going, what are we doing here? What do we need to do to right the ship? Because right now, I put my defensive coordinator, our top-notch defensive mind, who's considered one of the best defensive minds in football, against lackluster teams, and he has been unable to produce. Then I will have that conversation. But right now, we've been competitive all the way. There have been with 1 or 2 blowout games, and yes, there have been some losses. We always want to win. Of course we do.
75 million in dead cap.
And this is the thing. Sorry, I didn't get to this, and this is where I forgot to get to. Coach Bowles is a cheap option for the Glazers. Was it some AJ brought up that he's worth 3.5 million a year?
Right.
Do you know how much Michigan pays Jim Harbaugh?
It's more. Coordinator.
It's more than double.
Yeah.
To coach college football over a pro team.
Yeah.
They are literally sat there going, he's saving us so much money. Oh, he's so sweet. But that's not the point. You bring in a guy. Do you really want us to, and I'm saying this to Buccaneers fans, you go and get your guy, whether it's Ben Johnson from the Lions, whether it be
whoever.
The Ravens offensive coordinator.
I still want Pasaccia.
Todd Monken, whether it be Pasaccia, whether it be Jim Harbaugh, right? Then you bring one of these guys in. You are going to sign them for more than $8 million a year, probably a 4 to 5 year deal, and you're going to turn around after 2 years if they don't get the team on its track where you personally, as a football fan, as a Buccaneer fan, want it to be. You're going to go fire him.
If after not 2 years, they're not a Super Bowl team, they're not fighting for the Super Bowl, and they won't be.
Of course, they won't be. They won't be fighting for the Super Bowl.
That's the key. They won't.
I'll be shocked.
Super Bowl in 2 years. So, are you?
What you want to see is from year one is your kind of baseline, and then you want to see growth. That's what I want to see from Bowles. So if Bowles finishes the season potentially not with a 9-win record, then he has exceeded the expectations of last year with a technically Hall of Fame quarterback.
Let me ask James and Trevor. Okay, Trevor. I don't have a problem with what you said. Keep Bowles. I'm okay with that. I'd rather stay the course. Okay, I'm okay with that. All right, James. I want to know from you. I want to know an honest answer from you about this. Okay. Are you willing to pull the pin on the whole team and start over? Think about the price you have to pay. We're going to suck for years. Okay. We still have the dead cap space next year. And
Yeah,
then,
there's no way with Coach Bowles leaving. That still stays.
right. So ask yourself, number one, who's going to want to take over the job next year?
Anybody who's being promoted from a coordinator, technically. Someone who's already a head coach or being a head coach might look at the situation and go, I don't know.
Remember, Byron said no to Jacksonville. Okay, coordinators say no to head coaching jobs.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean that was surprising.
Right. So my question is, are you willing to pay the price and suck for years because that's what you're looking at, or are you willing? I'm. You know what? I'd almost be willing to say, as a Buccaneers fan, having seen this churn through every 2 years, new coach. And, welcome. I live in Charlotte. Look at what a joke it is. 7 coaches in 5 years.
This is my point. They're still they're going to be paying Frank Reich while they play a new coach. And I think the entire NFL was going, really? You're going to pick him as your NFL head coach? Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're paying more than that.
That is the greatest. You said that. I remember you saying once to me that Dave Canales is a really great salesman. Think of the salesman that Frank Reich is. $7.5 million a year for the next 2 years of his career. He can sit on the sofa, eat chips, and watch football for $7.5 million for the next 2 years.
But that's kind of normal in this industry.
No, I get you, but I'm just saying from a salesman point of view. You said like Canales was probably lowballed at low money. He's probably entry level, maybe a bit higher, $1 million a year.
I just mean he's a salesman in the sense that he gets you all jacked up and you believe everything's awesome for.
But maybe he does as well. It's not.
Hey, I'm becoming more of a Dave Canales fan. This offense has come to life. It's getting
better, but the problem is we got better against a bad team. But we
got better last week too.
Yeah, sure.
This team is starting to come around.
And this is the thing. Remember when we got Bruce Arians on board? Bruce Arians comes to Tampa, and the offense is this: no fly. I don't give no risk it, no biscuit. We're going for the jugular. We don't care. The defense was the Coach Bowles defense.
Remember who our head coach was? I mean, who our quarterback was, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get to I think it was like there's like 3 weeks left of the season. The Buccaneers only to win 2 games and they're in the damn. Just to be in the conversation, right? And we don't do it because Jameis Winston decides to throw to the opposition. They run it in for pick sixes, which you can live on a pick. Can't live off pick sixes because you've automatically got to answer. Like you've just had your nose broken. What are you going to do?
Right.
You've got to go and swing harder than the next person, right? You've got to. You've got no choice. And it was kind of like that situation that we were in. But the one thing I remember, all the media, all the talk was this Coach Bowles defense started off poor and got better and got better and got better. And by the time and I remember this in the last 6 games, their red zone defense was this, and this, and their run defense was X, Y, and Z, and their pass defense was shaky, but it kept teams guessing.
Yeah,
and we're like, oh, okay, so we've got a good defense on our hands. We could have a good defense on our hands because we'd had the Mike Smith era where, oh my good Lord, it's bend don't break. It was bend and just hope it didn't smash the chalkboard, and they ran into the other person's end field and go there. They're instead of going into the end zone, they're catching balls, sat with the fans going, yeah, I'm just chilling here because we keep catching balls because who's defending us? And it was a very frustrating era. And we never had an answer for it. And that was the most frustrating part. We got that. We got it. We got the Coach Bowles defense. And the argument was Coach Bowles is that guy. The argument was when he got his comeuppance as a head coach again was he's never been in a situation as good as this. And that was including Tom Brady in the conversation. He wins a division title with a losing record. Fair enough. We all can be honest here. Do you honestly think Atlanta would have won that game if the Buccaneers wanted to actually win it?
Of course.
And I'd say the answer is no.
Right.
I'd say the answer is no.
Right.
And we would have gone 9-7. But the Buccaneers thought they would be smart, and it did backfire in all fairness, but we have no idea what it looks. Hindsight's a great thing. I always say hindsight is poisonous in a way because it makes you believe something that's there or not there. It's a bit like, when you watch a game and a guy doesn't make a catch in the end zone and you go, we lost because of him. It's his fault.
All the other plays forget all over.
That guy's fault. And we're like, yeah, but we scored we scored 17 points.
Right.
So like that's not a reason. There's a bit more to it than that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's what I'm trying to get to. So we got this Coach Bowles defense, and everything's good, and it works, and we get the right players in. We got a bit of budget. We start throwing money around. Money gets tight. We have to ball it back a little bit. But I will say one thing. Anyone thinking about changing general managers might be an idiot. I've challenged people with this, and no one's came back to me yet. I've challenged people on this. Find me year on year. I'm going to give you 3 years. Give me 3 years where they have out GM'd our GM, and you will struggle. I guarantee you that he is top tier. I'd say top 5. I wouldn't say he's the best, but he's top tier, and he is so good at converting small talent into big talent, and that's what makes him good.
But Aguayo!
Yeah, of course, Aguayo was an absolute whiff, but on paper...
No, I get it. I'm saying that sarcastically. Because...
Yeah, sure, but I agree with you. Like, it was a dumb pick. I'm like, could they have got this guy a little bit later? Could they just waited? I don't think anyone was going to go that high on him anyway. I think you could have got him in the 3rd if you really wanted to. You really didn't need to push that hard.
Right.
But let's go.
He made a mistake. Oops, that happens. But
listen, I'm going to go through a couple of these. So,
hey, be
the
careful.
Bears have been an example of your point. The McCaskies? Caskies? Is it Caskies? Just want to make sure I'm not wrong pronunciation.
By the way, you're bringing up the Bears.
Yeah.
You know what we got to talk about. Then, I mean, I'll get out of your way and we can go. But
don't give a flying hoot on winning. So all their moves reflect that. And it's like, I don't know. I think they want to win. No one owns a team to lose. I think they all want to win. It's how much they're invested. Sometimes owners just go, I'm going to leave it to the general manager. I'm going to leave it to the football people to do the football work.
Correct.
People seem to think like a Bob Kraft is going to come in and just come up with all these smart moves. This is why the Dallas Cowboys occasionally look like a laughingstock, because their owner thinks he knows more than he does.
Right.
Because occasionally he goes, I'm going to do this, and we'll go.
Yeah, the Glazers don't get involved in this stuff, and thank God.
Then stupidly you turn around and say in a press conference that your quarterback robbed you, and now it looks like he has. But hey, we move on. We move on. Let's be honest, Coach Butler.
Just go. No.
Which was what?
Just skip that stupidity.
I mean,
just right. Yeah, you don't want to talk about that.
Coach Bowles is an effective coordinator. He no doubt understands defense. He doesn't seem to able to get the most of our solid pieces like White, Tron, Colton, and who's Tron?
I think it means Carlton Davis, maybe. Or,
no, because Colton's there.
Yeah, I don't know what he's. Oh, Joe Tryon's right.
Joe Tryon. I think the issue with Joe Tryon is he is not able to control. In my opinion, from what I've seen of him as an evaluator of defensive talent, he is unable to control his body to move laterally as well as go up the field. If he does that, I think he could be an absolute nightmare.
I heard the most hilarious description of it. Joe Tryon is like he's chasing butterflies in the backfield. To me, that is so perfect. Running around. Just
This team is so poor. Must be third down starts, third down line. Look, I'm not saying that we're a great defense by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm saying it's in the ballpark of being a good defense. And if a little bit budget comes our way, could it be better? And the answer,
That's great. James, tell me, why do you think that the Buccaneers were so good during the Super Bowl run? Why was the defense that good? And why is the defense not as good now? What do you think is the reason?
Okay, well, before he answers, I'll answer because otherwise we might be pausing here for a minute. Here's the real answer. Did you see the depth at safety?
Right.
Oh my God, they could literally it was just like rotate, rotate, rotate. And they had
Right.
guys for specific roles.
That's my point, right there.
If they were going to run the ball, would you put Edwards in? No, because he can't. He isn't the solid tackler that Whitehead was.
Right.
And they were very lucky. They were very smart in the draft process to get Antoine Winfield because he can do both. That's what makes him so great. He is so versatile as a football player. It makes you lick your lips. Here we go.
But so thank you for saying that. And that was my whole point about losing the depth on defense. We don't have the horses we had.
I do generally believe Cansey can be the answer for. Then do you blame for? Sorry, I'm gonna put it up. Do you blame Light for getting? I don't think he got rid of. And the hard answer here is they're strapped for money. I don't think they could have signed him. Edwards. Okay, there's so many things going on right now. Let me go with this one. I'm disappointed they weren't able to retain him because I saw him as that player, as that guy. So I was disappointed. But did it make a difference? Yes. I think about it. It made that much of a difference. It did. I'm going back in the head and going, yeah, okay.
And it's not just
Mike Edwards. Jordan Whitehead was probably the crowning screw up of this era of letting him go. But how much money did he sign for? That's the question.
Well, no, I don't know that it was a screw up. I don't think they wanted to let him go.
He reportedly said that he didn't even get an offer.
Right. I think they looked at it and were like,
but at the same time, they could have said to his agent, "What's going on? What's happening in the world of Jordan Whitehead?" And they went, "This much," and they went, "That's too rich for our blood. We're out."
Yeah,
that's fine.
I think they knew. Okay, listen, we can't. We've got to make certain cutbacks. There are positions where you may want to be able to keep a guy, but when you don't have the money, you don't have the money. I mean, I don't know how you run your household, but when you don't have.
I'm very cheap. My wife always mocks me. I'm so tight. She says, "Babe, you're so tight. You squeak when you walk."
But when there's no money, when you have no money, you can't spend it. And the Bucs had no money to keep Whitehead, to keep Edwards, to keep these players. They couldn't. And
I mean, Mike Edwards, he was more expensive than the safety we got, but not by a massive amount. But I don't think he's having that big of an impact as far as I know. So Jordan Whitehead signs a 2-year deal for $14.5 million in 2022. I think that's when we really started to feel the cap hit. And I will go out and say, Jordan Whitehead, letting him walk was a mistake. There are probably people they could have signed better. I would say signing Jordan Whitehead was a bigger priority than signing Leonard Fournette. I will go out on a limb and say that. That was a genuine mistake.
But the problem is you still had Brady.
Oh, for sure.
You can't make that. You can't make that pair. Brady wanted Fournette. No further discussion.
Brady got what he wanted.
Right. No further discussion.
So yeah, it was kind of a cheap deal. So we're talking seven and a quarter. So yeah, it's not bad, and he is still balling.
Yeah.
But we signed that shit.
Yeah.
Just foot getting injured.
Well, you didn't know that was going to happen, but you're right.
That is a very Trev. That's a fair. I'll say that's a proper Englishman. Trev. I don't know if that will relate to you. Good old Trev. I agree with you. However, you don't know how injured someone's going to be in the future. You really don't. So I agree. You're absolutely right. Russell Gage, in hindsight, is a bust, but only because of injury, not because of his ability.
Right.
And yes, I know the famous phrase, the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
But this was the first big injury of his career. So the Buccaneers were like, okay, if this guy pans out, we got a super solid slot right wide receiver that can do everything for us. It just didn't pan out. They threw the dice, they shook the rice, and nothing shook out.
Yep.
That happens. Look, I will challenge anybody And if they can prove it, I'm not saying that I'm wrong or right or whatever. I'm just saying I want to hear it because I'll be honest, I can't be bothered. I got other stuff to do. I'm raising 2 kids and I got a wife to please. And I'm I'm about to start a preseason of coaching. So, and there's other stuff
in the works.
In the works that could be very exciting and could come on the show. But until I actually know what's going on, it's going to be kept quiet.
Yep.
But I just don't have the time to go and look at this. But please, if someone wants to, find me a GM, and it's got to be 3 years. Give me 3 to 4 years where you can say he out GM'd that person.
Yeah.
And if that team is legit, then we can have that conversation.
Yep.
If you turn around to me and go, well, someone turn around to me and say, look at the Lions. Well, they changed their GM. Like they've only had their GM's only been around for like 2 years or something. I don't know if it was insert good team here, right?
Everybody's going to use the Lions right now for everything.
Sure.
They haven't even won anything yet.
Yep, no, they haven't. They haven't won their division yet.
They haven't won a division. No, I mean they haven't won anything yet.
Until they do, they haven't done anything. It's filler right now, and I'm for it. I love it. Good for them because they need it. Do we keep Mayfield? No, because he's going to want more money. Yeah. If he signs for the same money, absolutely, because it comes down, in my opinion, it comes down to how strapped the Buccaneers are for cash, right? But honestly, the Buccaneers need to have a look at some point. Right now, they're still in the conversation of a divisional championship.
Yes.
They are still in the conversation. And you said it best, Rick. Your last comment, I believe, in our chat was, until we're eliminated, they're not going to. And I completely agree. They're not going to, because this is the guy that's got them on the track that they're at. They're not going to go for somebody else until they have no choice. If we would have lost this game, we should have definitely explored that opportunity.
And something I want to talk about in the future, not today, but just to I guess throw the little teaser out there.
What?
Justin Fields would be an interesting.
It depends on what the asking price is.
I understand.
We discussed this in. We did like a little show last night. I really need to stop doing Saturday shows because I am useless for my daughter's ballet recital every morning. I'm like that.
Yep.
The coffee just gets drip fed into the veins because I am destroyed at this point. It's my fault, but it is what it is. I love football, so I can't help but talk about it.
Yep.
Justin Fields is an interesting conversation. I'm not convinced on him, but there's talent there, and it'd be like, what happens if you put that talent with other talent around him?
Yeah,
just write a few things.
I'm just looking forward. I'll get into it later. We don't need to dig into that today. We just, that's
and the thing is, you open up a little Pandora's box.
That's what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to do that. I gotta go.
RK or RKK. I don't know.
I just wanted to have a little fun and throw it back out there and have a good time throwing out the let's see what happens.
Okay, I'll answer your question. Another question, Rick. What is, in your opinion, what's the price that you would pay for a Justin Fields?
3rd round pick.
And that is exactly where I'm at, because it's that position. Like he's going into his final year of his contract. Yes, there is the option year is available.
Yeah.
But you haven't seen anything to prove that you need to give him the option year yet.
No, I understand.
So you're going to have to give him the option year regardless, because you want 2 years with him just to see it, right?
I think it's a fun thing, and I'm gonna get into it on our show on Tuesday night.
Awesome, man.
But, I have to run.
No, I think I've gone over. My wife was waiting for me to come to bed, and she's done. She's gone to bed now, and she's left it. So I'll be drinking and enjoying life. So, Rick, always a pleasure. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Love you to pieces, brother. Thank you for coming on and giving us this good debate, because I always love locking horns with you, because you give good counterpoints. You give good general bullet points to any conversation.
Yeah.
I enjoy locking horns with you as a conversationalist, because I love it when, even if someone's got a different opinion to me, as long as they can back it up with a coherent argument without getting aggressive or nasty about it,
Yep.
I'm for it, because I want to hear your conversation. Anyone out here, I want to hear your conversation. I don't want to hear that I know more football than you.
Right.
That's an age-old conversation. Anyone can say that.
Right.
If we want to get into a pissing conversation, most of us are Caucasian. Some of us aren't. We're probably going to lose it. But here's my point. Guys, this is just football. We're fans. We enjoy the game. And it's nice to have a bit of debate. But let's not make this personal. And let's not make this stupid. Let's just enjoy it for what it is.
Agreed.
Rick, thank you for coming on. Pleasure.
Great to
Hopefully
be
see
here.
you tomorrow. If not, hopefully see. Oh, might have to jump on while I'm in the gym.
Please.
On Tuesday.
I'll see you tomorrow night.
I'll see you soon, brother.
Have a great one.
And you, man. Thank you for coming on. So, guys, let's go through the last chunk of comments. And we'll just address these as quickly as I can, because, you know, here in the UK, it's like 2 a.m. So, oh my gosh, there was a fair few. I'm like backtracking on this. Good Lord. I would put Trask in now. I think the only thing that's stopping the Buccaneers from doing that is they're still winning until they. It's almost like they have to. Like, and I completely get what you're saying, but it's like you're going from like, we know what this guy's capable of, and we don't know what this guy's capable of in an actual game. So I think that's probably why. Your team is not that bad. You do have some studs on it. You're absolutely, but there's talent out there, mostly in the skill positions, but there's talent out there. Then deal with the Bears for one of those picks. Give up worse and their pick. No, I'm not giving it worse for Justin. I just don't think worse could be a generational talent, and I don't usually say that word. I honestly believe that worse could be one of the best. He is on a Hall of Fame trajectory right now. And I know it's early, so I don't want to say he's a Hall of Famer, because I don't want to say that. But he is in that conversation of being one of the best tackles in the NFL year on year, year on year, year on year. So I'm not willing to pass that up to go and look at a quarterback that could be absolutely nothing, because you would sit there and go, oh my God, we had one of the best tackles in football, and we gave it up for a guy who spat nothing. No, it's not my vibe. No, Justin Fields, draft your own dude like Tua at Miami. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what your draft pick is. Justin is better than Stroud with talent. Proof is in the play. There is talent, but you need to have the right coach. Potentially, I can talk about this. Look at McDaniel and Tua. They did surround him with a shit ton of weapons. It isn't just McDaniel. They did surround him with like one of the best wide receivers in football. They did augment a lot of stuff around him, in all fairness. Perfect combo. Fields needs a coach that believes in him. Maybe he does, but the thing is, are you willing to take a risk? And what are you willing to take a risk on? And a 3rd round pick, I'd take that risk. And I honestly would. I'd go for it because I think it could work. But I don't want to take that risk on a 1st rounder, because you could have a look at him in the 1st round and you could cut him the next year or the year after. And then you're back in the same situation. Justin with Evans and Godwin, by Rick, by Coach Slick. Thanks, guys. We won, but it doesn't feel like it. I think I'm enjoying what I get, but I get where you're coming from. Shout out Dolphins, fair play. Don't feel bad. It's a win. Absolutely, a win's a win. Football is the American way. Absolutely. I'm not American, obviously. You can tell by the accent. But guys, appreciated anyone coming on and chatting with me. The Aftermath is on tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. If you want to come on camera and chat your vibe, get your vibe out, get everything that you're feeling all out in the open, you're more than welcome to. This is what that show is all about. So please go and check it out. Links to follow. I appreciate everyone coming in, and I feel like I get like a regular staple of gentlemen coming in and people to come and chat on my show. So thank you for that. And without further ado, Bucs on me, Bucs on 3. 1, 2, 3, go Bucs.